Okay. So, in today's society, there's one addiction that's kind of acceptable and almost encouraged. That addiction is what we will be talking about today. We're going to be talking about technology addiction, the addiction to using technology and the habitual use of technology. We're going to look at the definition and what that means, the history of technology addiction, where it came from, and then what are the cause and effects of technology addiction. Starting off with the definition of technology addiction. Technology addiction is kind of self-explanatory, It's the addiction and habitual use of technology. There are several facets of technology addiction. The first being social media use, internet addiction, gaming addiction, and mobile phone addiction. And that would probably be the largest. According to PewResearch.org, there's a lot of amount of the U.S. population that is addicted to their phones, or addicted to technology in general. 31% of the U.S. population would be considered fully addicted, using their phone multiple times, almost habitually throughout the day. 48% of the U.S. population would be partially addicted, and that only leaves 21% of the U.S. population that has no addiction or has what we would call a healthy relationship with our phones. So, with understanding what a technology addiction is, when did technology addiction come from? When did that start? What's the history of it? Back in 1996, a concern began to grow for the addiction to technology and internet addiction. Starting in her paper, Kimberly Young wrote that she was concerned with the habitual use of internet addiction. That shows that this concern started well over 27 years ago. By that time, technology use had been kind of a thing since the 80s, and so it only took 16 years to see that there was oh goodness, there's a concern for this, and it has grown and grown and expanded ever since. This has shown exponential growth now in today, as of 2020, actually about 2012, that we started seeing rehab centers just designated for the addiction to technology. One cause for concern, though, is that the government doesn't recognize technology addiction as a true addiction. The American Psychology Association doesn't want to put their hands on that label for technology addiction because they don't believe that is truly potentially an addiction. They struggle with that, whether technology addiction is truly an addiction or it's a piece of another associated addiction that may be coming from. That was written in a paper written by Susan Ludgate. Finally, we kind of know where technology addiction comes from and the history and definition of what it is. But what are the negative impacts of technology addiction? There are several major impacts, the first one being a reduction of body imagery. This mostly comes from social media use. So people who habitually use social media can see that their psychology has changed to where they have an issue with their body image. Number two, the biggest one, and this is the one that if I were to say I suffer from more than anything else, would be loss of sleep. Being addicted to technology and overusing technology causes you to start to want to use technology and fail and losing sleep. The next thing would be failure of proper prioritization. Prioritizing technology and getting back to your phone or your devices or gaming systems and losing the reduction of your everyday lives, your responsibilities, and your roles. Another one that comes more from social media addiction is anxiety. We can see in today's society that what takes place in social media, what takes place in video games, what takes place in our daily lives can be surrounded with high levels of anxiety that's directly tied to technology addiction. And the last one, and I think this is another one that I struggle with, And I think we all would, we could all be, if we were being honest, we would all say that we struggle with the loss of just being in the moment. Taking the time, being away from our phone, being in the moment, that's a big, big negative impact of technology addiction. All right, so we kind of talked about the definition, what is technology addiction? We talked about its history, and we talked about the negative impacts. With that being said, I think one thing just to wrap this all up would be, my question to you and my charge to you would be, today and as you go out through your week, work to be in the 21% of people who are not addicted, who have a healthy relationship with their technology, and stay away from being within the group of 31 that are overly addicted. Thanks.